Welcome to this explainer. If you spend your days swimming in spreadsheets, survey results, or those massive statistical models, you already know that numbers are absolutely fantastic for telling us what happened. But they make pretty terrible storytellers when it comes to the actual human experience, right? So today, we're on a mission. We are taking Michael Quinn Patton's dense 10-point academic qualitative evaluation checklist and transforming it into a highly practical, step-by-step roadmap. We're going to learn how to capture those real, breathing human stories that are just kind of hiding within our data.
To do that, we'll be organizing Patton's checklist into 5 chronological phases: purpose and design, fieldwork strategies, the art of interviewing, ethical challenges, and finally, analysis and reporting. Let's jump right in.
That quote brilliantly illustrates our core theme here. While your quantitative data might tell you exactly how many people started or finished a program, qualitative evaluation uncovers the vital how and why behind those metrics. Patton reminds us that if our goal is to truly evaluate a program's impact, we literally have to put faces on those statistics. We need to tell the program's story by communicating the participant stories.
As evaluators, we're constantly weighing the strengths of these two approaches. Think of it like this. Quantitative data gives us the what and how many. It's rigid. A statistic might tell you, say, a job training program had a 90% completion rate. Awesome, right? But qualitative data tells you why the other 10% dropped out. That's a nuance a simple survey checkbox almost always misses. By leaning into these open-ended methods, we can capture those crucial, highly individualized outcomes.
So let's get right into phase 1, which is all about purpose and evaluation design.
The absolute foundation of this phase is something called naturalistic inquiry. Think of it like exploring a brand new city without a strict itinerary. Rather than forcing a program into a rigid box or some strict logic model right out of the gate, you let the actual lived experiences of the participants dictate the true focus of your evaluation. You're basically adding layers of data collection as your understanding naturally deepens.
This requires a massive shift in how we think about data collection. When you're choosing who to study, you throw random sampling out the window. Instead, you're acting like an investigator using purposeful sampling. You want to find the extremes. Interview the program's absolute biggest success story, and then go interview its most dramatic dropout. You might use maximum variation to find common threads across completely diverse groups, or just use snowball sampling to follow network leads organically. The whole goal here is deep, rich insight, not broad statistical generalization.
Moving right along to phase 2, strategies for the field.
When you are actually out there in the field, you have to carefully balance the tension between two distinct roles. Are you an insider? Like, are you playing on the field to build trust and understand the culture from within? Or are you an outsider, watching from the bleachers to maintain a broader, totally unbiased view? Now, there isn't a single right answer here, but you must deliberately choose your stance to make sure your findings remain authentic and trustworthy.
Regardless of which stance you pick, Patton demands what he calls thick description. And no, that doesn't mean using overly complicated academic jargon. It means your field notes have to be so incredibly vivid and so strictly factual that a total stranger could read them and literally feel like they're standing right there in the room with you. You have to actively separate pure description from your own personal interpretations. Essentially, leave your judgments and your hot takes at the door.
Okay, phase 3, the art of interviewing.
Observation naturally leads to conversation, right? But interviewing is just as much about listening as it is about asking. Patton's matrix of question options is super helpful here. It reminds us that, for instance, if we ask an experiential question about a past behavior, we have to listen very carefully to ensure we actually get an experiential response back, not just an opinion about the present moment. By categorizing our questions like this, we can sequence our interviews to get precisely the depth we need without confusing the data.
To actually get those perfect responses, you've got to adapt your style to the person sitting in front of you. Use gentle probes to dig beneath the surface. All the while, you need to remain this completely neutral, non-judgmental sounding board that fully honors their worldview. Oh, and here's a pro tip. An interview isn't just audio. The way someone acts in the room, maybe a heavy sigh, a nervous fidget, that is all data too.
That brings us to phase 4, navigating ethical challenges.
Because qualitative evaluations involve such direct, intimate contact, you really need to know the explicit difference between confidentiality and anonymity. Listen, in qualitative interviews, you almost never have anonymity. I mean, you're sitting right across from the person, so you obviously know exactly who they are.
Instead, you're dealing with confidentiality. You have to establish clear, informed consent up front and define exactly what boundaries of confidentiality you can legally and ethically keep.
Before you push a subject for that one juicy detail, take a step back. Ask yourself, what risks are they taking just by sitting in this chair talking to me? Could they face ostracism from their peers, legal trouble, emotional trauma? You absolutely must navigate these risks carefully to protect your subjects. And, honestly, just as importantly, you need to make sure you have a trusted confidant to protect your own mental health when you're absorbing and processing these really heavy stories.
Finally, we arrive at Phase 5, Analysis and Reporting. There is a massive misconception out there that analysis only happens at the very end of a project. Well, according to Patton, it's actually a sequence. You start generating ideas while you are still out in the field. Then you confirm those hunches as your fieldwork wraps up. And only then do you systematically test those patterns across your entire pile of data. It's a continuous, evolving journey of discovery, not just a final step.
Now, to prove to your skeptical stakeholders that your findings aren't just, your personal subjective opinions, you have to use triangulation. If an interviewee tells you something, does a program document or a direct field observation actually back it up? By cross-validating your themes across different methods and sources, you build an ironclad, completely bulletproof argument for the credibility of your report.
When it finally comes time to write, a successful evaluator ruthlessly focuses the report. You have to resist the urge to include every single beautiful, tiny detail you uncovered. I know it's hard, but instead, present your descriptive findings succinctly. Omit the irrelevant minutiae. Your true goal here is often to disabuse people of their misconceptions and illuminate only the most critical, actionable insights that will actually drive program improvement.
As we wrap up this explainer, I'd love for you to look closely at your own spreadsheets and evaluation metrics. Are you truly capturing the human faces behind your statistics? By applying Patton's checklist, observing deeply, interviewing empathetically, and triangulating rigorously, you can uncover that life-changing why behind the what. So the next time you look at a data point, ask yourself, whose story is hiding inside that number, just waiting to be told?